trouble mounts for Trinamool MP Mahua Moitra as the Lok Sabha Ethics Panel has adopted a 500-page report, we are told, against her, recommending her expulsion in the cash for query scam. According to a panel source, the committee gave a recommendation to expel the TMC MP for the remaining period of the 17th Lok Sabha and even admonished BSP MP Danish Ali, who is also a member of this ethics committee, for allegedly twisting and moulding the intent of the chairman's questions to Moitra and fomenting public sentiments against the panel. The ethics panel, headed by BJP MP Vinod Sonkar, has also asked Lok Sabha Speaker to frame a set of rules to check unruly conduct by lawmakers. Remember, when Mahua Moitra was called for questioning by the panel, the opposition MPs along with her stormed out of the meeting and claimed that chairman-led panel crossed the line by asking, quote, filthy questions to her. This assertion, of course, was denied vehemently. Now the ball is in Parliament's court. The government will table a resolution in Lok Sabha on the first day of the winter session, and Mahua's fate will be decided on that day. If she is expelled, she can still challenge this in a court of law. But that's not where the troubles for Mahua end. The panel report has also asked for an agency probe on the quid pro quo angle to establish corruption. Yesterday, Nishikant Dubey had also said that Lokpal has suggested a CBI probe. So the big question we ask today is this: is there any way, first of all, that Mahua Moitra can escape expulsion in this case after the panel report? And how much more serious will problems be for her, given that there can be not just one but multi-agency probe into her role and the money trail? We'll take that question to our guests in just a bit. First up, take a look at what's happened as far as this meeting today is concerned. It was a pretty short one that convened at around 4 p.m. this evening. So there were about 10 MPs of the ethics panel present along with the chairman for the meeting earlier today. 6 of those 10 voted to adopt the report, which is against Mahua Moitra, recommending her expulsion. Interestingly, Congress MP Praneet Kaur was the only one who deviated perhaps from party lines and voted for the adoption of this report. She's just gone on to say that that's all I can say, cannot really reveal the reasons behind her decision. Now, this report will be submitted, has been almost submitted to the Lok Sabha Speaker, and from there on, of course, the procedure will now shift to when the winter session of Parliament begins. Let's take a look at what the ethics panel found and what sources are telling us, what has been recommended as far as this report is concerned, the information that has been accessed via sources. The panel found that Mahua's conduct was heinous and criminal in nature, and therefore the panel has recommended that she be expelled as Lok Sabha MP. The panel also found that Mahua shared her login credentials to an unauthorized person. This was, of course, not something that needed to be established anymore, because Mahua Moitra had gone on record in interviews to say that yes, she had shared it with the person concerned, in this case, Darshan Hiranandani. The panel finds that this is a misdemeanor and it calls for severe punishment. The panel also suspects Mahua's unethical conduct as she allegedly accepted gifts from Darshan Hiranandani. Now, even here, as far as some gifts are concerned, Mahua Moitra has accepted in public domain that she did accept them. On this, the panel is saying that there should be a legal and institutional inquiry by the government on this regard. But the final piece of the puzzle, if you may, is whether there was any quid pro quo or any cash exchanged, as Dehad Rai's complaint says. So on the money trail, they have accepted that there is a contradiction between Mahua and Darshan. While Darshan says he has given money, Mahua has obviously not, accepted that, and there is no trail. But to establish that trail, the panel recommends that the government should probe this further, and of course the government will hand this over to a probe agency. Now, this report was also based on findings by the Ministry of Home Affairs. What did the MHA find? Now, the MHA found that Mahua Moitra visited Dubai 4 times during this period of her parliamentary membership. Her parliamentary login credentials, though, were used 47 times from Dubai. And the IP address used to log into her account was always the same. And of course, in this case, again, this is not a big mystery, because Mahua Moitra has accepted that she shared her password and login with Darshan Hiranandani. There is a possibility of leakage of sensitive data is also what the MHA has found, because remember, there are grave questions that even if somebody is only doing clerical job for you, in posting questions using the portal, once they enter the portal, they can access certain documents that are still confidential and not in public domain, and that's where the trouble is really for Mahua Moitra. The big question, though, with this damning ethics panel report, Can Mahua Moitra escape expulsion in any way? And how much further will her troubles go?
कमेटी को एक काम दिया गया था पूरे आरोप को विस्तृत जांच करने का, उसको पूरी विस्तृत जांच की गई और जो फैक्ट फिगर पाए गए वो पूरी फिगर के साथ हमारी लोकसभा के स्पीकर को अपनी संस्तुति के साथ भेजा गया।
वो कह रहे हैं कि क्यों दर्शन हीरानंदानी को नहीं बुलाया तो फिर इंक्वायरी नहीं।
देखिए, जब पूरी विस्तृत रिपोर्ट पार्लियामेंट के ले हो जाएगी और पब्लिक डोमेन पर आ जाए तो आप पढ़ेंगे तो आपको लगेगा कि जो कमेटी को करना चाहिए कमेटी ने पूरी निष्पक्षता के साथ, पूरी गहनता के साथ विषय का परीक्षण किया।
Actually, what happened in the meeting, what chairman says, after the evidence witness crossing, we will have a separate meeting, separate internal meeting of the committee members. But there is no internal meeting happen in the committee.
Also, one very important question: they had 5 members, you had 4, you had 5 members, but Praneet Kaur suddenly decided to vote for the BJP.
Actually, yeah, chairman is voted for it. What?
Praneet Kaur decided to vote for the BJP.
Yeah, that is what I asked to her. It is compulsory.
Hello, Moto.
Let's go across to our guest joining us. Garga Chatterjee is a political analyst, leans towards the TMC. Desh Ratan Nigam is political analyst, leans towards the BJP, also joining us. Garga, you know, there are indeed extremely problematic issues as far as this case is concerned. And clearly the panel report has now recommended expulsion is something that has come out in the public domain. Do you see any way that Mahua Moitra is going to be able to get out of this hole that she's dug for herself?
First of all, let me be very clear. It's leaning towards no party, but because I will speak on facts, right? So facts are not partisan, facts are facts. Number one, in this tenure of this Lok Sabha, multiple opposition members have been suspended, etc. Right? Opposition members only. So bad behavior, this behavior, that, etc., etc. happens to somehow the Lok Sabha Speaker, who is the final judge on these issues, seems to find in opposition members only, which is okay. That's his discretion. Okay, that's the law, so that's discretion. Number two, this panel has called for a probe, right? So they need investigation. Okay. In fact, there is this Jharkhandi called Mr. Dubey, who I think also has called for CBI, has lodged some thing. And
yes, Mr. Nishikant Dubey, the BJP MP who had lodged the initial complaint against Mahua Moitra, has at least on record yesterday said that Lokpal has recommended a CBI inquiry. CBI comes under the Lokpal, so Lokpal has recommended a CBI inquiry. But this panel has also recommended a government probe.
Especially, right. So what is interesting is the facts of the case, whatever they may be, have still to come out. So which is very interesting that...
But there are certain facts of the case, Garga. No, I'm sorry, you're very conveniently missing out the fact that Mahua Moitra has come out in public domain and accepted certain facts of the entire episode.
I will come to it. It is
yeah, please get to it quickly. I don't have a lot of time.
No. Number two, so the probe has started probably, not completed clearly, but the judgment has been given, which is strange. Number three, what has Mahua Moitra accepted, which may be considered as unethical behavior, that is using credentials, these login, etc. She is not using the login. Somebody else, authorized, unauthorized by her, whatever. But what is important is, were they authorized to and notified to the Lok Sabha Secretariat? It does not matter if Mahua Moitra personally authorizes.
No, it does matter.
But then there, exactly. But Ministry of Home Affairs has given all the details of the logins and the IPs. Problem is, this is available to the issue is that it is available to the MHA. Click the single click, they can get all the information. If Mahua Moitra is guilty on that question, Let us find out all the logins of all the MPs.
Why all
if
the
this is
MPs?
unethical behavior, why are people shying
You
away
don't
from that?
prove everybody of a crime just because one person has been found guilty of a crime.
No, of course we do, because the issue
No, you
is
don't.
propriety, right?
There
It
is
not
no
about Mahua
judicial
Moitra, it is a crime she did.
There is no jurisprudence under which you can subject everybody to an investigation just because one person has been found guilty of a, in this case, an impropriety.
You can, if your objective is to find how far this so-called unethical behavior is, and if you don't want to do it, if you want to hush it up, that is fine.
No,
Then
in
you
all
are
of your,
completely with you.
Garga, you've spoken for, I think, roughly 3 to 4 minutes. In all of this, you have escaped the question that I asked you. How is Mahua Moitra going to escape her expulsion?
She will be expelled. She
will be expelled.
She will be
But you are
100%.
somehow seemingly suggesting that it is unfair.
100%.
You are seemingly suggesting that it is unfair. Have I got that correct?
I am suggesting that the standards are different for number one, opposition and non-opposition people, and number two, people who might also be guilty if this is a crime.
That argument I'm not going to take forward because it's fruitless.
You don't have to take forward. The people
you made your point, but I'm not going to extend that to our other guests.
You intelligence of the people just by
okay, fair enough. Let the intelligent people decipher if everybody should be subjected to an investigation just because one person has been found guilty of an impropriety. Let intelligent people decipher that. Shazia Elmi of the BJP, Kapil Madan, political analyst leaning towards the Congress, is also joining us. Shazia, please address that issue. Garga Chatterjee is saying, you look at the suspensions that have happened as far as this tenure of the government is concerned, all of them are opposition MPs. You look at this case, you are not really interested in figuring out whether this is a practice that is widespread. You have only caught Mahua Moitra and you are only penalizing her.
And how exactly does this all pan out? It started because of a complaint made by somebody who was a friend of hers, a close friend of hers and an associate, who actually made these charges, who had nothing to do with BJP, who actually happened to be a close friend of Mahua Moitra. Now, the law is very clear on this, but going beyond law, I mean, it depends on which side of ethics, morality or propriety you're on. Now, the fact of the matter is that you give, as a member of parliament, you allow not your staffer and not on your watch, under your supervision, but you give your login credentials and password to somebody called Darshan Hiranandani, something he has stated in great detail in the affidavit that he submitted. And not just that, you give this to him not once, not twice, but 47 times. Now, he's not a part of your secretariat, he's not part of your office or staff. He also has conflict of interest. If you see the data collection and data localization query made by Mahua Moitra, Darshan Hiranandani is a vested party, is an interested party. Not just that, there are a lot of people who are whistleblowers, and Mahua Moitra will make it out to be about a fight against corruption. But there are a lot of people out there, members of parliament and journalists, who speak against a corporate house, but at the behest of another corporate house. So this is something that has to be looked into.
Okay,
so
whether you are
no, let me finish.
I'll just add one thing, then you continue. My point is that whether you have an axe to grind against a corporate house and you're bringing out certain facets about their work or their proceedings which are unsavory, whether that comes from a competitor, whether it comes from another vested interest, that's frankly, not anybody's query here. Obviously, there will be vested interests.
Agreed. I agree with you.
But in this case, it is purely about whether a parliamentarian, one, is guilty of sharing confidential details by virtue of sharing their login and password. And secondly, which is the more important question or the more serious question here, whether there was any quid pro quo involved. In this panel, it was not the mandate of the panel. The panel cannot do this. But so they haven't quite established quid pro quo.
Agreed, which is exactly what the ethics panel has done, which is exactly what this report is suggesting, that it was improper and unethical of a member of parliament to give her login ID and password, and not just that, the process that it entails, which involves giving your OTP. So it means under the full watch and supervision of Mahua Moitra, the password of parliamentary login was shared not to a staffer, not to somebody who's part of a secretariat, but to a businessman outside of India. And that itself has been found unethical. The quid pro quo and all those charges will be taken up later on when the CBI investigates into the matter about the parties, whether how interested is that party, whether there's a conflict of interest. What do all the gifts mean? Were they done in lieu of the information given, which became staple diet of the questions asked by Mahua Moitra.
Okay, but
so
you know,
Mahua
on the
Moitra is
ethical
making it out to
question,
be being a woman. Being a woman doesn't help. Being of a certain gender doesn't give you any immunity.
no,
Law is the
absolutely,
same for all.
gender has nothing to do with this, and there's going to be no.
But the whole thing of no, I found it very disdainful. How it's all about Draupadi ka Cheer Haran. I mean, the same questions would be asked for man, transgender, male, female gender doesn't matter. Law is very clear on that. So let's not make it about her being a woman. Let's also not make it about her taking on a certain business house because she's speaking for another business house. That can be a counter argument.
That's an allegation.
So it doesn't really hold.
That even that allegation hasn't really been proven.
Exactly, but what she's also saying is also an allegation because the fact of the matter is the party she represents, TMC, has a huge port, Tajpur port, which has been done with the handshake of which has been done between Mamata Banerjee and Adani.
Okay,
so
I don't want to get into the politics of the whole Adani, thing because it will open up a lot of things. Why some parties are attacking him, but also their governments are doing business with him. I mean, it's a whole different arena. I don't want to step into it. But Kapil Madan, I'm coming to you. On the ethics question itself, it's very difficult to defend what has happened in this case. Because I think even more serious than the fact that as an MP, you get, your additional salary to, fund your offices, to fund your staff, you get your travel allowances, etc. So there is no excuse for a parliamentarian to say, oh, I needed clerical services outside of, what I should be managing of my own, one. And secondly, the most serious question is that once that person got access to that portal, they could have done anything else. So Mahua Moitra's assertion that what is the big deal if somebody typed in questions that I gave to them doesn't hold.
So Shivani, let me deal with the first allegation of propriety and ethics. And our friend here from the BJP, Shaziyam Ilmi, has spoken very highly on, what is proprietarily correct, what is ethical, what is not ethical. I'll just raise one question here. The Ethics Committee who is conducting this probe, this investigation, the fact that the report is not finalized and it is not tabled, before the parliament, it is a matter of record that one media house, NDTV, they have information to this report. Now the point remains, now who has given this report to NDTV? So if we are talking about impropriety, I will judge the conduct of the Ethics Committee with the same yardstick. If the allegation against Mahua Moitra is that she has given her login credentials to someone to post question, doesn't the same yardstick applies to the Ethics Committee itself? Okay,
I'll take that in a bit, but can you come to the question I asked you? I'll take that forward, but come to the question I asked you.
It's not.
Come to the question I asked you. As far as her own conduct is concerned, it's been a while since we've been discussing this, and whichever way you look at it, आप कान इधर से पकड़ो या उधर से पकड़ो, नाक इधर से पकड़ो या उधर से पकड़ो, कोई justification नहीं नजर आ रहा कि आप अपना login password किसी third party को दोगे जो कि एक businessman है.
Shivani, tell me something. Okay, I agree. What are the allegations against Mahua Moitra? These are grave and it merits investigation. I am not disputing. From day one I have taken this position.
That's all we're discussing.
The fact remains. The committee itself, the probe committee itself, if the committee itself has leaked the entire probe and the report in an improper manner to a media house, and also the same media house that has linked with a corporate entity against whom Mahua Moitra is vocal. Now, if you want to talk about and if you want to judge this conduct on the yardstick of
but Kapil, you made that point. I said I'll take that point forward. But as far as Mahua Moitra's expulsion is concerned, are you going to accept that yes, that is a fair decision? Please come to my point because I don't have that much time.
Yes. Now I'm coming to this. I'm coming to the second point, Shivani. The fact. What is the fact? Hiranandani made an allegation. One affidavit appears in the media. That affidavit was not notarized. That got leaked. The other affidavit surfaced that affidavit was notarized, that got leaked. So you had two versions of the affidavit. We don't know which one is correct. Who leaked? We don't know. It is also a matter of record that Hiranandani has not personally appeared before the committee. Please correct me, do a fact check of me whether my information is correct or wrong. The fact is, everything, every allegation, evidence that you have collected at the back of Mahua Moitra. This is not how a principle of natural justice works. You can't
What do you
simply
mean, back of Mahua Moitra? What does that mean?
Was Hiranandani made to appear in front of Mahua
But
Moitra?
her IT details have nothing to do with whether Hiranandani comes or not. Na? Your digital footprint is as good as anything else.
We have another lawyer here, Mr. Deshrat Nigan. He would agree with me that there should be an evidence. You are conducting an inquiry. The rules of natural justice are applicable. You can't simply flash one affidavit, then another affidavit.
No, it's not about the affidavit actually. Nobody's talking about the affidavit anymore. What people are talking about is the digital footprint that everybody leaves behind.
That's why you argue
there are
in a very
trips that
shallow
have
manner.
been, there are trips that have been ascertained. There are logins that have been ascertained, and that is the fundamental question in front of this panel. This panel was not technically savvy enough to look into the quid pro quo. Kapil, I've given you enough time. I'm sorry, you cannot be going on and on and on. Deshratam Nigam, on the issue of what happens from here on, yes, Mahua Moitra will have the option to challenge her expulsion if that was to come to fruition when the winter session kicks off. But there are other agencies that will seemingly get into this. So there is already the talk of a CBI probe. Since this is essentially a matter of corruption of a public official, there could even be PMLA involved, I don't know. What do you make of, what could be in store, legally speaking, for Mahua Moitra, given the charges that she's facing today?
Shivani, in fact, first let me answer Kapilji. The fact remains that it was Mahua Moitra who stormed out of the meeting and walked out of the hearing. Therefore, she gave up that right of principles of natural justice which was being given to her. She walked out and it's a matter of record. She walked out. Nobody threw her out. There were some serious questions being asked and therefore she was given all the opportunity. She did not avail of those opportunities, so that charge will not apply. Secondly, obviously, the committee was only looking into the unethical conduct and breach of privilege and contempt of parliament. They were not looking into the criminality because that was not their domain. That would be investigated as Lokpal has recommended, and this committee also has recommended an independent inquiry and investigation under the criminal law. That would follow whether PMLA will apply, intention to commit a crime will be applied. So many, those are very serious test under the criminal law. Here it was a limited requirement and there they found Mahua Moitra guilty as charged so far as the unethical conduct is concerned. These two things are different and the recommendation means Parliament, if it is passed by the Parliament, this report, which means the criminal investigation would start. Even otherwise CBI can start. There is no bar on the CBI because once the material and complaint has been given to them, probably they are waiting what this, Parliament will do or not. But that's an independent aspect and action which CBI, and if the national security is compromised, believe me, it can be given to National Investigative Agency also. That also is a possibility because aspects of national security has also come into the picture. These are very serious issues. It should not be politicized. Nobody can play a victim card out here. And Mr. Madan's statement is not that of Congress. Please remember that. These are his personal statements. Congress has been quite, absolutely quite on the subject.
I was going to come to the political aspect of this entire story, and let me bring back Garga Chatterjee one more time because, TMC also has been tiptoeing around this issue. They have started to speak in some voices now. But, for example, Abhishek Banerjee said today that Mahua Moitra is capable enough of defending herself, so the party is not getting into it. You have a curious situation where Praneet Kaur of the Congress party actually voted with the BJP as far as this resolution is concerned. Do you see this as an issue where Mahua Moitra or the TMC will find very hard to actually build any political consensus? Very few people would be willing to put their weight behind an action and conduct like this.
দেখুন রাজনৈতিক পরিপ্রেক্ষিত যেটা ভারতে রয়েছে আমরা বুঝি ইলেকট্রাল বন্ড কেসে বিজেপি কিন্তু সুপ্রিম কোর্টে গিয়ে বলছে কারা কারা কর্পোরেট কারা কারা পুঁজিপতি পয়সা দেয় তাদের আমরা নাম বলবো না
English,
মানুষের জানার
please, I
কোনো
can't
অধিকার নেই।
understand
गागा
you.
आप
এই কথাটা
सडनली
বলছে।
बंगाली में क्यों बोलना शुरू कर दिए? आप अभी भी इंग्लिश न्यूज चैनल पे हैं?
We are in an English channel. A little while ago, the anchor had the freedom to choose to speak in our mother tongue. Why is a panelist suddenly
Okay, thank you very
denied of
much.
that
You've
right?
made your point. Okay, go ahead.
I have not made my point. I did not disrupt you. Why are you disrupting me?
No, I said go ahead.
এক্স্যাক্টলি। তো আমাদেরই যেটা দেখছি যে সুপ্রিম কোর্টে কিন্তু এই বিজেপি সরকার বলছে যে তারা ইলেকটোরাল বন্ডে কে পয়সা দিচ্ছে জানাবে না। অদ্ভুত ব্যাপার। আদানির মালিকানার এনডিটিভি চ্যানেল তারা এই প্যানেলের রিপোর্ট আগে থেকে পেয়ে যাচ্ছে, যেখানে এই প্রশ্নগুলো।
थैंक यू वेरी
মহুয়া
मच।
মৈত্র,
आप मेरे सवाल का जवाब नहीं दे रहे हैं तो
अच्छा,
आपको मैं
अच्छा,
एक्स्ट्रा
ठीक है,
टाइम नहीं दे सकती हूँ।
ठीक है,
मेरा सवाल आपसे बहुत
बुझे
क्लियर था गार्गा चैटर्जी कि ये जो पॉलिटिकल जो लाइंस हैं क्या वो ब्लर हो रही हैं या पॉलिटिकल लाइंस में इसमें प्रॉब्लम होगी?
হিন্দি বলতে আমার কোনো অসুবিধা হয়নি।
अच्छा,
আপনি
ठीक है,
বাংলা বললে
ठीक
আপনার অসুবিধা হচ্ছে ইংরেজি চ্যানেলে।
बोल लीजिए, कोई बात नहीं, बोल
মনে রাখবেন
लीजिए,
এটা।
बोल लीजिए, फ्री
এটা মনে
कंट्री है,
রাখবেন।
आप बोल लीजिए, कोई बात नहीं। शाजिया
এটা
इल्मी इज
মনে
बैक
রাখবেন,
विद अस।
ঠিক আছে? আমি
शाजिया
বাংলা
इल्मी, टू
বলতে বারবার
क्वेश्चंस।
আটকাচ্ছেন, আপনাকে কিন্তু আটকানো হয়নি। আপনি
Okay, Garga Chatterjee, you've had your say, you've had your turn. Please, let's not make this, let's not make this personal, and also let's just try to be civil with everybody. Thank you very much. Shazia Almi, the question that arises, which I asked you earlier also was, there is a perception that politics plays on. Could the perception here help the likes of the opposition, the TMC, the Congress and others into building a case that, see, whoever speaks up against this government, they get cases slapped against them. Opposition leaders have agencies against them. Here's a woman who was asking questions. She has been, pulled through the Ethics Committee of the Parliament. And, this is the climate that we're living under.
So all those who say that will have to explain as to how and why Mahua Moitra asked a friend of hers who's an industrialist with a conflict of interest on various issues when it comes to his data business and his other real estate business and on many other financial services and products that his company offers, which is in direct conflict with other corporate houses, not just one but others, as to how that person seemed to have access, and not just access, full access, and which is used 47 times to pose questions to the parliament. He is not the parliamentarian. He was not elected by the people of Krishnanagar. Mahua Moitra was. If she
I
was
get that,
to get
but
information,
Shazia, you're fixating on
there are research.
Shazia, you didn't understand my point.
So
the facts of
and
the
I want
story
to make
we've
another
discussed,
point.
but
So
I'm talking about
no
perception.
blurring. This is only defense. But law is very clear. Where there is where law is concerned and propriety is concerned, you can say anything. For that matter, do you think anybody who's indulging in corruption or doing something improper and unethical to the core should be given immunity because they're members of the opposition? I can turn the argument on its head. You tell me, one parliamentarian, for whatever reason, I'm not even talking about quid pro quo, though a lot of cash for kind, or not just cash, kind for query, it seems to be there in the play. Admitted.
Can I just pull away from the panel? Just give me 1 second. Shazia, I'm sorry, I'm pulling away. Hemant Godse of the Shiv Sena, who is part of this ethics panel, is also joining us. गोसे जी, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद हमसे बात करने के लिए। बहुत छोटी मीटिंग रही आज। 6-4 से जो रेजोल्यूशन था उसको अडॉप्ट कर लिया गया। क्या हमें थोड़ा सा और बता सकते हैं मीटिंग में एग्जैक्टली क्या हुआ?
एक्चुअल में जो कुछ डिस्कशन होना था इससे पहले ही हो गया था, और आज का जो भी मीटिंग का एजेंडा था, इट वाज ओनली टू एक्सेप्ट द नोट। सो बाकी तो डिस्कशन था ही नहीं, क्योंकि इससे पहले ही सब कुछ डिस्कशन में हुआ था, और चेयरपर्सन ने उसके लिए जो उनके कमेंट, उनका जो व्यू था वो वहां पे बता दिया था उस रिपोर्ट में, और वो रिपोर्ट सबको दे दी गई थी एक दिन पहले।
तो रिपोर्ट में एक्सपल्शन का रिकमेंडेशन किया गया है, क्योंकि रिपोर्ट में ये माना गया है कि जो काम महुआ मोइत्रा ने किया है पासवर्ड और लॉगिन अपना शेयर करके, वो गलत काम है एमपी के तौर पे।
ये तो गलत प्रैक्टिसेस है, ऐसा तो हर कोई कहेगा, क्योंकि हर एक को उस बात के लिए सिक्योर रखना हमारे पासवर्ड आईडी, लॉगिन आईडी, तो वो तो हर एक का काम है। हम लोग दूसरों के भरोसे या दूसरे का कहना हाउस में कैसे डायरेक्टली कह सकते, उसके लिए तो हम लोग दूसरी मेल के माध्यम से कुछ शेयर कर उनके हमको क्या बोलना है हाउस में, तो वो तो हम अलग से मांग के भी, लेकिन हम लोग किसी के साथ शेयर करना ये गलत प्रैक्टिस है।
गोसे जी, एक सवाल उठा है, जो डिसेंट नोट दिया है ऑपोजिशन एमपीज में, उसमें भी ये सवाल उठा है कि महुआ मोइत्रा को जो अपनी आंसर करना था या उनसे जो क्वेश्चंस होने थे वो तो पूरा ही नहीं हुआ। तो क्या ये पैनल की प्रोसीडिंग्स पूरी हुई? क्या इस पे सवाल नहीं है?
इससे पहले बहुत बार डिस्कशन में सब बातें क्लियर हुई है, और आज जो कुछ भी डिस्कशन था इट वाज ओनली टू एक्सेप्ट द नोट।
जी, बट पिछली बार जब आपकी मीटिंग हुई थी तो महुआ मोइत्रा छोड़ के चली गई थी वो मीटिंग, तो एक तरह से उनकी जो क्वेश्चनिंग है वो अधूरी रह गई थी। तो क्या उसको पूरा नहीं करना चाहिए था?
तो मुझे ऐसा लगता कि उन्होंने जाना नहीं चाहिए था ना, अपना जो कुछ भी बातें हो पूरी रख के ही जाना जरूरी था।
और दूसरा, डिसेंट में ये भी कहा गया है कि ऐसे कोई रूल्स ही नहीं है लॉगिन को लेकर, ऐसे तो कोई रूल्स एमपीज को दिए ही नहीं गए हैं, तो किस रूल के तहत आपने उनको गिल्टी करार दिया है?
नहीं, तो ये प्रैक्टिसेस आगे चल के अपने पार्लियामेंट की गरिमा को ये पहुंचा सकते हैं। इसकी वजह से तो अभी से अगर हम लोग कोई बातों को लेके रेस्ट्रिक्शन डालेंगे तो उसके आगे दूसरा भी कोई एमपी है तो वो भी सोचेगा कि हाउ टू बिहेव इन द पार्लियामेंट एंड क्या जिम्मेदारी है उनकी।
जी, एक आखिरी सवाल मेरा, जो डॉक्यूमेंट्री एविडेंस है, जो बड़ा एलिगेशन है महुआ मोइत्रा के खिलाफ कि उन्होंने कुछ गिफ्ट्स या पैसे लिए हैं वो क्वेश्चंस पूछने के लिए, तो इस पे तो क्या पैनल के पास कोई एविडेंस था?
पैनल जो उन्होंने खुद ने वहां उनके रिपोर्ट पे लिखा है, शी हैज एक्सेप्टेड इन हर से कि ऐसे ऐसे हुआ है करके, और जो हीरानंदा ने उन्होंने भी लिख के दिया है। तो मुझे लगता कि इसमें कुछ ना, उन्होंने खुद ने एक्सेप्ट किया है ना, तो वो तो ये सब डिस्कशन इससे पहले
तो
हुआ है इस बारे।
उन्होंने जो गिफ्ट्स की बात करी है, जो इक्के दुक्के उनको गिफ्ट्स मिले हैं, आप बोल रहे हैं कि वो भी गलत है, उसके तहत भी उनको एक्सपेल कर दिया जा सकता है?
नहीं, गिफ्ट्स के बारे में नहीं बोल रहा हूँ कि जो दूसरा उन्होंने लिखा है, खुद एक्सेप्ट किया है कि दूसरे भी कोई बातें थी। हम लोग तो कोई फ्रेंड्स में तो करते ही है, वो बात नहीं है। जो सबसे बड़ी बात है जी कि अपना लॉगिन आईडी और पासवर्ड जो दूसरे को शेयर करना, वो बहुत बड़ी गलती है।
अच्छा, ओके। हेमंत गोडसे जी, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद हमसे बात करने के लिए और हमें बताने के लिए कि पैनल की मीटिंग में क्या हुआ और पैनल की रिपोर्ट मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंटली क्या कह रही है। लेट मी गो बैक टू आवर गेस्ट फॉर सम फाइनल कमेंट्स. Kapil, I want to come to you on the political, implications of this. You have seen over the last 3 weeks that there is not much support internally that is at least coming out in public domain. She may have it behind closed doors, and certainly other parties are also feeling uncomfortable with putting their weight behind such practices. In fact, today Praneet Kaur of the Congress has voted against Mahua Moitra. So this is clearly an issue where opposition will not be able to justify it collectively.
Shivani, I will again, say very responsibility to the viewers that there could be some things which may look improper, but if there are no rules and mechanism, you can't say that this is illegal. Now you are a very respected and a very experienced journalist. You would agree with me that the fact Mahua Moitra makes a statement that there are no rules in place, no rules of conduct in place, whether you will have, you can access those, credentials.
No, that's wrong. That's wrong.
Or any other person,
No, I just want to say something here.
Yeah, I have limited time. Unfortunately, I have limited time. So 30 seconds to Shazia, then I'll give 30 seconds to Deshatunigam. Yes.
Shivani, are we deliberately being so naive? Are we kidding ourselves? Mahua Moitra was in JP Morgan. Do you know what confidentiality and privacy and secrecy laws are in all the banks? So would you give your parliament any less importance or significance? Then you know very well aware, and each one of us, we don't have to work for a bank to know that if you are holding or an office bearer or a part of the executive of the country, that you will not give it to somebody.
I also feel that this online.
Are you seriously you seriously saying it?
No,
I don't believe that can even be an argument.
No, that's not an argument. Though also the form says that do not share it with anyone. As far as rules are concerned, that's the propriety. One second, Kapil, please. One second. I will add one thing here, and only me and Deshatunigam now, because I don't have too much time. The point I want to add here, Shazia, Kapil and Garga, also is that this mechanism came into place in 2019. It's fairly new. Sometimes first of a kind cases do come up, and it is the job of the ethics panel to decide whether what happened or not was within the proprieties that they expect from parliamentarians. There need not always be rules associated, actually. when they are deciding on such matters. This panel has a very broad power to decide whether somebody has brought the dignity of Parliament lower, and that can be enough. And even if it is first of a kind and maybe rules will be devised, so be it. That's how sometimes you evolve. Deshratan Nigam.
Well, Shivani, in fact, ignorance of law is no excuse. Any, one-time lawyer or a small-time lawyer or first-time lawyer can also tell you, even a beginner or fresher can tell you, because it's the first thing that is taught in the law schools. And especially the educated persons, the standards are much higher. Not as compared to ordinary people or uneducated people.
Okay.
The rules are clearly there. The IT rules, the National Informatics Center who has been given this code, they also have their own, guidelines. The Parliament also have their own rules
Okay,
and
I have to
guidelines
leave it at
say,
that. Unfortunately, I've run out of time. I do thank all of our guests for joining us. Certainly, troubles will not end for Mahua Moitra just here.